Advanced Heroquest, Tobaro's Shame, The Fate and Grudges of Sven Hammerhelm. Part 1. Upon breaking into the Palazzo Del Vento, the citadel of usurper of the city of Tobaro, via the secret gate, the dwarf Sven Hammerhelm's party of assassins had encountered a strange series of linked, locked rooms. Each room had been guarded by the willing and also the unwilling minions of the self-proclaimed master of Tobaro. The heroes had first fought and killed an ogre driven mad by hunger. Then a quintet of fetid chaos warriors, and finally a sorcerer of Nurgle known as Broglus. Sven had faced this last foe alone, as his allies were making their way to aid him. A chasm leading to an underground river lay between the servant of the primordial annihilator and the dwarf. "Foul follower of filth, I have brought your doom with me," Sven shouted as he brandished his old warhammer in his hand.
Nya, 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 nya. Bellow all you like, but you cannot reach me.
Anger flushed the face of Hammerhelm, and, grabbing the spear he had found in the adjacent room earlier, he hurled it at the jeering madman. The dwarf's aim was true, and it pierced deep into the exposed abdomen of the magic caster.
Nya, 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 nya. Throw all the toys you like, but you'll not hurt the likes of me,
Broglis said, taunting Sven as he pulled the spear tip from his body and tossed it to the ground, thick blood and pus ebbing from the wound left behind. The magical healing circle upon which the sorcerer was standing suddenly flared into life, enveloping Broglis in a verdant healing light and sealing the gash. A broad grin split the sorcerer's face as he pulled out a small glass lens from under his robes and uttered the words of power.
"Foul spear of light and unerring dread, eye of the storm, plague-swept bled, make me a path of freshly cut dead, lit green first, but then left red."
The lens then melted in his palm, and Broglis's eyes became like lambent glass lenses themselves. An incandescent green light began to glow, and then grow in intensity, until suddenly a beam of pure Gyranic energy burst forth, aimed directly at Sven Hammerhelm. However, the dwarf's reactions were lightning fast, and he deflected away all of the deadly magical energy using the dwarf relic shield that he had found beneath the manse of Van Helen during their assassination of the Skaven Greyseer, Cankerclaw Darkheart.
"You meddlesome Goladmanga!"
But Sven had only just begun to meddle. The dwarf grit his teeth and took a few steps back before running and launching himself across the chasm. Sven made the almost impossible jump and landed, awkwardly, admittedly, in front of Broglis within the magical circle, swinging his warhammer as he did so. However, his aerial gymnastics meant that his blow lacked its usual power, and Broglis was able to defend himself with his steel staff. Once again, the magical circle thrummed with power and filled both Broglis and Sven with healing magic. This completely erased any remnants of the spear wound caused to the Chaos Sorcerer, but such things were of little concern to Broglis right now, for in front of him stood a powerful dwarf with murder in his eyes. "I see that you're not laughing anymore." Broglis heaved with all his might and managed to push himself away from the dwarf. He used the space to pull out a glass vial of crushed jade mixed with water and allow a single drop of the magical mixture to spill onto the magic circle below.
Drip, drop, grow, don't stop. Into a pool, a green door hop. Make me a path out of this fire. In jade waters deep, free from ire.
As Broglus spoke the last syllable, the drop of water began to grow into a pool of many places. In an instant, the magical circle beneath the pair's feet disappeared and changed into a deep, green pool. However, the normally calm waters immediately rose up to become an uncontrollable, sucking maelstrom.
What is this?
Tendrils of frothing water wrapped themselves around the two combatants' feet and legs, dragging them into its depths, before collapsing in on itself behind them and blinking out of existence. Sven grabbed the wizard tightly by the throat as they sank into the magical depths. Broglis fought back, punching the dwarf over and over, but he could not free himself of his belligerent opponent. The clawing, clinging, verdant waters slowly began to smother the struggling foes as they were dragged this way and then that by the turbulent currents. Deeper and deeper they sank, their movements becoming more frenzied as their lungs began to run out of air. Then, as suddenly as they had entered the pool in many places, they were spat out into another pool banked by large stones. "You'll not escape me so easily." Sven looked around him. He was in a dark room, lit by torches on the walls. He then staggered to his feet, once more raising his warhammer. Suddenly, a leather fist reached over the rocky edge of the pool and grabbed the head of his weapon.
"You'll not be needing that,"
came a voice that he'd not heard in over a lifetime. At that, 4 pairs of feral hands grabbed the dwarf and pulled him over the raised edge of the pond, accompanied by excited braying and grunting. Sven found himself pinned to the stony ground of the dungeon room by 4 goat-headed beastmen. But they did not begin to tear him apart as he expected. Instead, they forced a wooden gag into his mouth and waited, their hot, fetid breath polluting the air and their nauseating drool trailing down from their mouths. Again, the old familiar voice resounded around the room.
"Broglus, explain yourself."
The wet footsteps of the bedraggled sorcerer drew closer.
This filthy goldmonger attacked me and got dragged down into my spell pool. Kill him and be done with it.
"I only take orders from your grandson, Broglus, not you. Get out of my sight before I set my gauze on you. I think they're hungry enough to even stomach your foul flesh."
Watch your tongue, Grandar. Blood is thicker than water, and I have a Marco's ear.
"Another word from you, Francisco Broglio, and I'll have your ears on skewers with a pint of your blood to wash them down. Now, get out!"
And with that, the sorcerer's footsteps grew distant. And then, suddenly, looming above, came the horned helm that hid the familiar voice.
"Imagine seeing you here. Now, young Hammerhelm. I thought you were dead. I was sure the beast had eaten you alongside the others all those years ago. Well, as I've got you here, you must remember this."
And with that, the speaker brought Sven's father's long-lost hammer into view. Sven bit hard against his gag. The taunting knight then raised the weapon high, allowing its gromrel head to catch in the torchlight, before bringing it down, crashing it into the dwarf's skull.